So I just want us to look at this verse to start with, but we will come back to it. So it's in John 1, verse 40. Now, you might have seen the title that flashed up before. It's Why Should I Tell Others? So this is reading from the Message. It says, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who had heard John's witness and followed Jesus. The first thing he did after finding where Jesus lived was find his own brother, Simon, telling him, "We found the Messiah, that is Christ." He immediately led him to Jesus. Okay. So when I first saw that title that we were given this morning, Why Should I Tell Others? And then I heard that Wayne had been asked to speak on it, I thought, well, yeah, that's fantastic, that's right, because from the very early days when Wayne first had an encounter with Jesus and became a Christian, he very naturally shared his faith everywhere he went. He just would meet people, have conversations, and it just was naturally part of who he was. It would come out in conversation about Jesus. So I thought, yeah, it's right that Wayne should be sharing on that title. But then I started to think about me, and I thought, well, would I have anything to say on that title? And I really felt that God wanted me to stand up and say something as well, maybe to give another voice on this whole area from someone who's got a very different personality, different gifting maybe. And for those of you here that know me and Wayne, we're very different people. And that, well, it tends to happen a lot in marriage and relationships. They say, don't they, opposites attract, and we are very different. I would say I'm an introvert, and Wayne an extrovert. And fairly recently, this came as a huge shock to Wayne. As a family, we were just chatting about these words and what they meant. So we all told Wayne he was an extrovert, and he was genuinely shocked. He had no idea that's...
Seriously, I was genuinely shocked. I was genuinely shocked.
But it was an extrovert, so there you go. But who knows that in Christ, none of those distinctions matter at all. Because God wants to partner with us. Each of us, each and every one of us in this room, in our uniqueness, God wants to partner with us and work through us, because we're all fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of our Father God. And we can reflect Him wherever He's placed us, whatever our personalities, we can reflect our Father, however He's made us. So the very first, I just want to share my story really, the very first opportunity I had of sharing my faith and sharing Jesus with others was actually Wayne, 16 years ago. I became a Christian in July 2003, which seems like a lifetime ago now. Wayne didn't believe in God. He wasn't brought up as a Christian, wasn't brought up in a Christian home, and neither had I been. But even back then, as a very young baby Christian, if you like, I knew that my words or my persuasion or my clever arguments, which I didn't have, weren't actually going to make any sort of a difference to Wayne coming to know Jesus. He was perfectly happy with his life. You do what you want to do. He was quite indifferent to God, I suppose. So I knew back then that it was God that had got to intervene, that it was God that had got to make a miracle, do a miracle for Wayne to know Jesus. And if you'd have known Wayne back then, you'd know what I mean. So I just knew I couldn't convert him myself, if you like, by just saying the A to Z of the gospel. So what did I do? Well, I prayed. And when I say I prayed, I mean I prayed those sort of desperate, down on your knees, crying your heart out type prayers. And so hearing those songs is something like Amazing Grace and all that, it just takes me back to the beginning of our story and how grateful I am. So grateful I am for what God did at that time. So I prayed, and 3 months later, it was in the October of 2003, Wayne had an encounter with Jesus that changed his life forever. That's a whole other story. And so we began our journey together in Christ. But something changed then over the years as a Christian. I think it's when you're around, I don't know, other Christians. I don't know what it was, but I think something started to change in me. And I went to see people like Ronald Bonnke, for those of you that know him, who'd led millions to Christ across Africa. People like Nathan Morris, who'd been known as an evangelist in this country and beyond. And I started to think, oh, that's the gifted people, it's the special people that can bring people to Jesus like that. And I started, I suppose, to lack confidence and think, well, I don't think really I'm gifted in that way. I don't think I'm confident enough to tell others about Jesus. And if you add in a big dose of fear and apprehension that's sort of built up, then I really didn't share an awful lot, if I'm honest. I had forgotten that people coming to know Jesus is actually nothing to do with me. It's not my clever words, it's not my persuasion or my personality, it's all about him. Now, that doesn't mean that I stand back and don't do anything, or that you don't, because Jesus does want to work through us, he wants to partner with us, but it really took the pressure off when I realised that. For myself and Wayne, in those early months, it was just the most amazing time. I enjoyed every minute of my newfound faith. It was just wonderful. And I suppose Jesus just came out without me even trying. It wasn't a striving or a drivenness. And that deep desire that I had for Wayne to know Jesus for himself, I left that for the times when I was on my own with Jesus, and that's when I prayed. So I was thinking, when we think about we need miracles, and we need a miracle for healing for someone in our family, or we need a miracle for a breakthrough in finance or anything like that, we just know that we can't do anything. We know that it's got to be God. But somehow I think, and I don't know if I might be the only one, but I do think other Christians think this, that we think it's somehow about us. It's about what program am I going to get, and what program is our church using to reach people, and we need to do that, or we need to follow how this church is doing it. And it's somehow about what we do. And we've lost this ability to just say, actually, only God can do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there and pass on to you.
I think the point to go back to, for me, what I recognised, in Sarah's complete love for me, because can I tell you something? I was not a great guy to live with. I know you can't believe that. I know that's unimaginable. As you see me now, what a great bloke. I know, just stop. But I was a nightmare. Really, this lady is a saint. Trust me, she's a saint. Some of the stuff I've put this woman through is beyond belief. And I mean, I've put her through some stuff. But the greatest thing for me is she punctuated moments. So I used to read a lot of SAS books, and they used to talk about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And I was up for that. That's great stuff. You do me wrong, I do you wrong. You harm me, I harm you. That's very much my motto. So I was sitting with Sarah one time and we were talking about this, and she was going, yeah. And she just went, do you know that's Old Testament, don't you? And I went, what? She goes, that's the Old Testament. Actually, Jesus came and he did this, and this. And I was like, oh, okay. Kind of blows that one out of water then, doesn't it? You know what I mean? So you have to think, I need to switch the arguments up. I need to get a little bit more sort of switched on. But the greatest thing about this beautiful woman was she radiated God's love without even doing anything. Just radiate. I mean, I would look at her and I would just look and say, something is so different about you, and I can't quite put my finger on it. She didn't, expect the Gospels to me, or she didn't beat my head in with the Gospels. She just loved me as she loved me. She'd say, I'll be off to church, and I'm going, yeah, have an amazing time. I'm off mountain biking, woohoo, yeah. So when she said she came to faith, I suddenly thought all my issues are resolved now, because, to be fair, I'd work away all week. Come back on a Saturday, we'd do stuff together. I'd have a list of jobs planned. We won't talk about that. Sunday morning, mates, biking, gone. And I would say to Sarah, I'll be back in 2 hours. That was pretty much equated to 6. And the whole thing for me was that's okay, I've been working away all week. Yeah, doesn't matter, I've got no water, and I've got a beautiful wife at home. As long as I'm getting my enjoyment, job done. Yeah? So, the whole thing about me meeting Jesus, right? The whole thing about that encounter that one night came from somebody who didn't really talk about it, but just lived it right in front of me. She didn't moan when I came back home 6 hours later. She said, have you had a great time? I've done your dinner for you, it's just in the oven. Yeah, the chair's got old. But what I really want to talk about is, when I first became a Christian, I'm excited, but I was unfiltered excited, and you can quite imagine. I'd be running around everywhere, because you imagine I'd lived this life in complete and utter darkness, and then it suddenly gets completely transformed into something I've never even recognised, and transforming me into something I don't recognise, So when I'm working with 17 blokes in a cabin, and the first morning I walk in after meeting Jesus, and our cabin was, let's just say it was decorated with ladies in various poses, and I walked in that first morning after knowing Jesus and just went, I think this is wrong. I don't think we should do this. And they're looking at me going, you all right? I'm going, I think we need to take these down. And then begin to take them, and they go, oh, okay. And we had this just normal steel cabin there, and I started putting pictures of the job up. Like drawings, stuff we were doing. And the whole attitude of me changed, where I suddenly stopped swearing like that. Now you can imagine when you're a site operative, you swear like a trooper. Well, that's the way we spoke to one another. It was very much in Russian. And then I started saying, please, could you go and do something? Thank you for doing that. And they're looking at me like I've gone completely balmy. And then for me then, it's this whole exuberance of something inside of me just going, I want to get out. I want to get out. So I wanted to let it out, and any opportunity would be an opportunity for me to let it out. When we have this title, and it says, why should I tell people about Jesus? My answer back is, well, why wouldn't you? Listen, he radically transformed my life from a black hole pit into what it is today, and he continually transforms it. Dave and I were talking this morning about how God puts you in situations, and I think I know it all, and I think I've got this suss, then goes, actually, let me just pull that rug from under your feet a little bit, and let me pull that rug from under your feet a little, and you're a bit like, oh, perhaps I don't know everything, perhaps I haven't got this suss. This whole thing about me being this extrovert type person, which is still a shock to me, okay? We took a test online, and he said, you're a full-on extrovert. I'm like, no way, I'm an introvert to the max. And Sarah's going, in fact, we even phoned one of my friends in Manchester and said, Wayne just said he's an introvert. And he went, no way, that bloke's like a full-on extrovert. I'm going, no, I'm an introvert. Oh, you still don't find it easy to go and share my faith with people. I know that sounds mad, but I still, when I feel God prompt me to go and talk to that person over there, I'm a bit like, oh, go on then. And then I just go and do it. It's not about me. It's all about him. I'm not the one that comes up with clever words or something like this. When I walk up to somebody and God says, just say this. And I'm going, why don't you say that? Like Carl in prison. When God says, talk to him about forgiveness, Wayne. I'm going, why don't you talk to him about forgiveness? Because he's going to be the one that punches me in the face. He's not going to punch you in the face. I'm sat opposite the table. He's very angry. He's really angry. And in fact, he's really, really angry. And he's staring at me and growling at me. And I'm thinking, I don't really want to be here. And I fold the book together and said, let's just talk about forgiveness. And he says, I don't want to forgive anybody. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. I said, I'm not asking you to forgive anybody. I'm talking about you. What about you forgive you? And he goes, what do you mean by that? I said, well, actually, this whole situation, this whole life that you've got is not your fault. Man, you've been thrown into some chaotic situations. That is not my cleverness. Okay, trust me, this may say intelligent, the t-shirt's intelligent. What going? Yeah, that's about as good as it gets. Okay, simplicity is my game. Okay, keep it simple. What are our motives for going to tell people about the love of Christ? Shall I tell you my motives when I first got saved? Right? When we stood in church and people started lining up, because we had our own row, the first church we went to, because I used to deal with the homeless and stuff like that, there was the central row, pastors and support team. Then you had all the older people on that side that usually sat over there. And then you had Sarah and I's row, which were just full of people who smelt. So we had our own row, and it was slightly moved away from everybody else's. Okay? And we started to fill that row. Okay? People started coming, we started spreading the love of God, we started going out in the streets, we started just expanding it everywhere we could. We just started telling people about who he is and how we can transform life. And miracles started to happen. And man, that was the most beautiful thing ever. The first miracle we ever saw, where God just healed a guy's thumb. It's broken, and then boom, and we're like, oh, look at that. And we were just like, oh, and everybody's like, oh. And then people start giving their lives to Jesus because something magic just happened. And we started to fill this row. And then one day I stood there like that, and we had 40 people behind us. And I was looking at the rest of the church, and I went, so what you guys doing then? Hey, look at this, what you guys doing? I'm saying this in my mind, I'm not saying it out loud. But literally, I'm standing there like this going, so what you doing then? Check this out. Do you know what God does then? He takes it away. He said, actually, Wayne, I just need to take that off for a minute. So God spoke to me and just said, I want you to lay it all down. I want you to lay down everything you've done. Just let it go. And that crushed me, crushed us. But Sarah had to live with that for 6 months. 6 months I didn't share my faith with anybody. 6 months I just argued with God constantly, shaking my fist at him. How could you do that? So what was my motive? My motive wasn't the right motive. Okay? My motive started out right, but suddenly became a little bit big-headed. And God constantly reminds me of these things. He's constantly bringing me back to that point. When I start to get a little bit like, I think I've got this cracked, he goes, no, come on, I'm just going to take that away now. You've got to know, Wayne, it's all about me.
So I'll just read it again. John 1:14. So Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard John's witness and followed Jesus. The first thing he did after finding where Jesus lived was find his own brother Simon, telling him, "We found the Messiah, that is Christ." He immediately led him to Jesus. So when we think about motives, what was Andrew's motive? He just had to find his brother, didn't he? And for these two quite young Jewish men, they'd been eagerly expecting and waiting and looking for the Messiah. So for Andrew to have known that Jesus was here, that the Messiah was here, there's just this real sense of urgency in these verses that he's got to go and find his brother. So it brings us to the word love. And I think it's last week Dave talked about love being our aim, for those of you that were here. And it's so easy, isn't it? It has to be about love. I know for me, it was love for Wayne that compelled me to pray so desperately for him to know Jesus for himself. I so wanted him to know what I'd found. I wanted him to know that. So it's love that compels us.
Love. Can I tell you what love looks like? Can I just give you a quick example? Monday morning, right, the leaders of the town have just met together, and we've just had a bit of communion, and we've just had a bit of time waiting on God, and we're just seeking his presence and stuff like that. And I get back home, and I'm in the bedroom because I'm late to go somewhere else because it's overrun, as always. And we're meant to have a staff meeting, so we've got a whole dicing staff day. So everybody out of the two offices get together without clergy, so we're just talking support staff, finance teams, all this sort of business. And I'm in the bedroom getting changed, and I'm singing, "Brother, sister, let me help you," which is a hymn. I don't do hymns, okay, all right, you know what I mean? But I go, "Brother, sister, let me help you, let me be as Christ to you." And I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting, that's funny. Fancy that one being lodged in bed somewhere. So I go into the car petrol station, I'm buying some food because we're doing a shared lunch. And as I'm walking in, this girl walks in, I'd say she's in her 20s. I'd say she's had a tough morning, and she looks like a tough girl, and she's got a 2-year-old daughter with her. Okay? So we're lined up in the queue, and you can imagine the Co-op that time in the morning, it's quite a big queue, everybody's lined up for fuel and food and all this sort of business, there's none of cashiers. She goes off to the one cashier, puts the daughter down on the counter, I go to the next cashier to her. She puts a card in the machine, punches a number in, and the woman just went, "No, it ain't working." And she went, "Oh, okay," so she takes the card out, puts the card back in, I'm paying for my sort of food at this time. She puts the card back in, punches the number back in, nothing. And she's starting to get stressed. Child's starting to get stressed. Cashier's getting stressed. The people behind her are getting stressed because they're thinking she's not moving quick enough. Why can't she use contactless like everybody else? Okay. She takes the card out of the machine, puts the card back in, punches the number, 0. Okay. Now I look at her, and I've paid, and I'm about ready to go. And then she said, "What do I do now? I haven't got enough cash." And she says, "Manager," calls the manager over, and before she comes over, I just said, "It's okay, I've got this." She went, "What?" I said, "It's okay, I've got it." So I just walked over to the machine, contactless. It's too easy, that, isn't it? Well done. Give me the receipt, and she just went, and walks off. And the woman came, "Thank you, it's all right. It's okay." And I walk out the store, and she's waiting outside the doors for me. And she just says, "Why would you do that?" And I said, "Why wouldn't I? God bless you, have an amazing day." Just walked off to my car, and she was just stood there like that. Drove around the car park, off I go. That is what love looks like. I didn't say to her when I got outside, "Here's my address, you can send me the money later." I knew that morning that me singing that hymn that lodged in my brain somewhere was God saying, "Just be prepared, you're singing something, are you prepared to act on it?" Now I could have quite happily gone 10 minutes later, 5 minutes earlier, and completely miss the whole of that situation. But as we know, God orchestrates all these things, doesn't he, for his good. And shall I tell you something? I don't know what sort of day that girl was having and what sort of day she'd have after. Let me just say, I don't think there was any money in the account. It's as simple as that. And I don't think she was aware of that either. But the love of God just stepped right in at that very moment. Now, did I give her 20 tracts and a gospel message? No. Just lived something in front of her. Just actually lived the word like Sarah did for me. Now, there are other times when, I feel God say to me, just say this, just do that, just go here, just go there. But do you know how that comes? Do you know how that comes? Dave spoke about it quite a few weeks ago. Said it comes from that place of being with him. Am I jumping ahead now? I don't know. It comes from that place of being with him. Now, shall I tell you what my prayer life looks like? Legs out of bed. Let's go, Jesus! Woo-hoo! That's it. Woo! Let's go. Okay? And I find myself in these extraordinary situations. Okay? I just bump into somebody and they go, da-da-da. And I'll go, oh, let me tell you about this thing. Actually, let me pray for that. Let me do this, let me do that. Okay? Now, people say, listen, let's just calm this right back. A lot of people disagree with me. It's probably completely against the Bible. But I don't believe that I'm gifted in any way. I just believe that I'm a son. Okay? I believe that I'm just his. And actually, whatever I need at whatever moment I need it, he'll provide it. Simple as that. Okay? I know when I turn up to situations and I haven't got a clue what I'm doing, which is 99.99% of the time, God steps in and does something. When I'm at school and I'm talking to kids that lives are so broken, I mean, you wouldn't even begin to believe some of the stuff these kids are going through, right? And I'm sitting going, you're just amazing, you know. And they go, what? I say, but you're just wonderful. You're beautifully made. Man, you're so amazing. I had a girl the other week that was just going through some stuff, and there's been a stuff with a boy, and it's expanded beyond where it should go to. And she's sitting there because the lad says, oh, but I love you, but I love you. See you. I said, but let me tell you about one that doesn't love you. She's like, but I don't feel loved. I said, well, let me actually tell you about it. And actually, let's go one further than that. He's all right for us to pray for you right now. She's like, I would love that. So the teacher comes in and we just pray for her together. That is what love looks like. For me, it used to be about, I have to get you saved. That's my role. It's my job to see you saved at the end of the night. So when I was out in the streets and you see a mirror clapping, and the guys going, oh, that's amazing. I'm going, right, say this now. And they're like, what? The prayer of repentance. Here it comes, baby. Say these words after me. You're a Christian now. And I'd go, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, there's my list tonight. How is that tonight, Sarah? I used to think that was my job to get people saved. What I've now realised is my job to be an encounter for people. That actually I'm just a signpost constantly going this way. We're all signposts going, heaven's this way, and this is the way I'm going. And I read a book by Bob Johnson, Bill Johnson's brother, called Love Stains. And I read that on a plane. I was going somewhere on a plane. And he just said, I used to think, like me, it was my job to get people saved. He said, do you not think the God of the universe so cares for that person they set up not one encounter with you, but they set up thousands of encounters? And it may take a lifetime for somebody to come to know him, but they'll come to know him. And all I am is a little signpost going, it's this way, and just giving people a little nudge. That's all I'm there for. I'm just there to wake up and be his. Okay? We are just here to be his. This is the edification bit. This is the bit where we come together. We worship and God. Let me just say, the songs were bang on. But I was thinking, actually, we don't have to speak at all. All we have to do is listen to what those words say, and that's it. We're sorted. Pretty much done and dusted. But the whole thing is, we edify one another. We lift one another up. We go out of this place, and we become the signposts all around this town, wherever you find yourself. Even if you're not in this town, even if you're at work. Because for me, I have to live this because there's nothing else. I have nothing else. Yeah, okay, I'll work for the church meeting. That's great. Don't get me wrong, it's great. It's a wonderful opportunity. I'm training to be a vicar. It's great. Tish, it's a wonderful opportunity. Let's just go, it's a wonderful opportunity. But when I was in secular work, I was no different. I'd still be like, oh man, what was your weekend? Oh, I really good. Why don't we just talk about that then? And actually, the firm started saying, actually, any pastoral issue, can we just pass me all around? It's like, yeah, whatever. Just have little pastoral Mondays. People are coming from their weekends and we just sit down and have a cup of coffee together. What's going on with you then? Well, it looks like this, and this. Okay. What about this then? And let me just tell you who you truly are. Isn't that what we're about? Aren't we about that? Aren't we about to say, but you are so wonderfully created? Aren't we about that?
Thomas More was a monk and a theologian, I think that's correct anyway, and he wrote of a trip that he made to a local town. So he lived in a monastery, had a very sort of solitary life of prayer and being in God's presence, and he went out from that place to his local town. He came to the corner of a street and he saw all these people bustling about, going about their everyday business. And this is what he said. He said, I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realisation that I loved all those people, that they were mine and I were theirs. And that must be a wonderful feeling. So in that moment, he realised that all that time that he'd spent in solitude and in God's presence and soaking in God's love had changed him. It made him see people as his brothers and sisters, that he was connected with people. And I really believe that does the same. It'll do the same for us. We have nothing to pass on to other people unless we've received it from God first. So we need to know that we're loved, don't we? We need to know that God loves us and accepts us and forgives us, all those amazing things that we've sung about this morning. We need to soak in that, to receive that. So once we've recognised what Jesus has done for us, then we've got something to share with other people. The dog tag. Yeah. So this morning, this is what Wayne's talking about, I think. We've got a puppy.
Oh,
He's
I'll go there.
He's 18 weeks. He's a lovely little man called Max. And he was up at 6 o'clock this morning, got up, we had about an hour to get him. And then about 7 o'clock, he starts to get a bit dozy, so I'm snuggling up with him on the settee. Lovely and warm, like a little hot water bottle, and we're just sort of like sitting there together, having a moment. And then I'm in the sun, coming in the window, I see his little tag was glistening, and I looked at his little silver tag, and it's got the name Davis on it. And in that moment, I thought, yeah, he belongs to us. We've chosen him. He's our puppy. He belongs to us. He's got our name. So if he's ever lost, he's got our name on him. And then I just really felt God say to me, but that's the same for you, Sarah. We're marked out, aren't we? We're marked out for Jesus. Each one of us, if we've accepted Jesus into our lives, we're stamped with his name, if you like. And it just really touched me this morning. And as I turned this little tag round, it's got our postcode on, SY81ND. And I thought, well, yeah, if he gets lost, then obviously people know where to bring him back to. And then I thought, but actually that's not the same for me. My home isn't SY81ND, my home's heaven. We're citizens of heaven, and that's where our home is. And it's just constant reminding ourselves and being in those moments, being in his presence, that actually changes us when we see other people, that I can be more tolerant with other people, because I know I'm forgiven, I can forgive other people. It's all, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, I think.
John 3:6, look, we all know this is a staple fold, okay? But actually, what I like to say on this is, he says, God so loved all the world. He didn't say that he tolerated the world, he didn't say that he just put up with us, he didn't say that we were a mistake, he didn't say, oh, yeah, one day they'll get it, whatever, la da da. He so loved the world, which means everybody around us, okay? That's not just us in this holy huddle. That's our brothers and sisters outside this door, whether we like them or not. However we feel about them, he loves them as equally as he loves me. And man, if he loves me and can transform my life like that, then that is some deep, deep love. So why wouldn't I want to go and do that with others? Why wouldn't I want to go and love them? Why wouldn't I? Because I tell you what, if that is so great, and it is so wonderful, then why would I want to go pass that on? That's easy peasy, isn't it? But it comes from that place of being with him. Listen, if we've got this whole mentality that we need to go out and save the world because that's our job and this is the list of the church things and stuff like that, and we have to grow church. That's my role at the minute for the church. I'm going church. And I went, nah. So we'll see some people come to know Jesus. Maybe not with you guys, but we're seeing that, but they go to different places. Hey. Anyway.
You know, it's good film.
Cut that up, yeah. But the whole thing is right? His love needs to be passed on, and that can only be through us. Okay. God chose us, each one of us, to carry that love inside and spread that wherever we go. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, man, what a bloke. I've only just been introduced to him, so some theological stuff they talk about when we do our theological degree. Dietrich Bonhoeffer comes up a lot, especially around the ethics sort of area. Okay. But I just saw this quote the other day and it just said, your life as a Christian should make non-believers question their disbelief in God. Man, that is a statement that like poked me straight in the eyeball. I'm thinking, well, how am I living that really says that people, when they look at me, so see Christ living through my life that they go, I cannot not believe in him now. That there's something else. There's something about you that makes you completely different to me, and what is it? And then that's when I sleep in, I go, it's Jesus. He's great, and he loves you. Do you know when I sat with the lady that was selling drugs, I didn't go in and say, shouldn't sell drugs, you know. That's a terrible thing to do, that is. Ooh, what an evil woman you are. I just sat down with her and went, do you know that Jesus loves you? She went, what? I said, he loves you. Oh man, he so loves you. And actually, you know this pain that you're going through at the moment and you don't get sleep on a night time? Why don't we just pray about that? Do you know when we had this staff day, we got loads of Christians mixing with non-Christians, because that's what happens in the Church of England. You get this very broad spread of people, from atheists all the way through. Atheists that really like working for the Church of England. I can't work it out, but anyway, they like working for them. And we got this lady, and she'd hurt her knee. She's a runner, and she'd hurt her knee running. And some of my Christian compatriots were going behind and going, oh, I really know a great osteopath, and I really know a great person who can do this. And I went, I know Jesus, and why don't we just pray about that? And they went, oh, pray. Oh, like I'd mentioned like a swear word or something. And I said, actually, why don't we just pray? And she went, that'd be awesome. So I said, when we get back to, because we were walking somewhere, I said, when we get back to the hall, why don't we just... So I got one of her friends over and I said, do me a favour, stick your hand on her knee, will you? And she went, well, I said, let's stick your hand down there. And we just said, thank you, Jesus. Just come right now and just let there be a view. That's it. Simple as. And then she messaged me on the night time, said I went running tonight. That's a lot better. God, that's great. Well, actually, let me just tell you what else I feel God's saying for you. And there's a whole raft of stuff where God just went, and she just went, oh, TV face back on Messenger, you know, all this sort of business. That's it. How can we be a constant encouragement? How can we live Christ wherever we are? By being in the place that's secret. What did Jesus do? Stole himself away, didn't he? Eh? Pulled himself back from the crowds and said, oh, I've just got to go and be by myself with my dad. How much more should we do that then? How much more should we be in that place where Sarah was on her knees, just crying out for everybody that we come into contact with? That's something I'm learning. Trust me, I haven't got that picture yet. That's something I'm learning now. Something God's just bringing me into. My favourite verse that most people quote to me is, be still and I am God. Stillness in me, just don't get on. Quiet in me, don't get on. But I'm learning. I have to learn that because I have to go deeper to know more.
It's that the one thing that always comes to mind is the Great Commission. And whenever we hear that, we see that as, we don't read commission, we read command. And even if you could look into, it can mean an instruction, a command, or a role. But actually, if it's the authority given, it's entrusted by a government or other official body with authority to do something. And actually, the verse, when Jesus starts saying that, before he says, therefore, go and make, he says, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. He says, because it's been given to me, I can allow you to go. He's not saying, go, you must. He says, no, up till now, you weren't allowed. So, shh, be quiet. Now I allow you. So it's something that comes from within. It's not something that God has said, no, you must. No, it's something from within, and he's opened the door for us to be able to go and do that, to be his ambassadors. It's actually, he's giving us the blessing rather than a command.
So let's just round it up now, because I know we've sort of, Sarah keeps saying to me, time-wise, look at this one time today, that's good. Yeah, it's good. Could go on.
Part two.
Yeah. So Jesus, we just so thank you that you love us, each and every single one of us.
Yeah.
But not only that you love us here, but you love those outside of us. That actually that we live in a town where people have just broken lives. We have kids that are just completely broken. And we just want to be your words, we just want to be your heartbeat for every single one of those people. However they find themselves. However indifferent even they may be. We want to be your love personified. God, today we just don't feel that love, or we just have that fear, or we have something that just stops us. And like that song, just break the chains that bind us, break the chains that hold us, so that we can go out and just share your love wherever we are. It hasn't got to be by words. Most of the time it's just by deed. But we thank you that you choose us, each and every single one of us. It's not just the special people. We're all special. We're all chosen. We're all called. We're all given authority. We just want people to come and know the presence and the purpose and the value and the love that you have for each and every single person and each and every single individual. And we just so thank you, Jesus, that you died on a cross to set us free. Because we are free indeed. Amen. Amen.